Hey guys, if you are a knife nut like me, and maybe you are, probably a pretty good chance, especially if you're also a reviewer, you get distracted by the next shiny thing. And a lot of us guys are that way. We get distracted by the next shiny thing. This is the Bestech Pebble, and it's not the next shiny thing. I got this in, I think, December, and now it is near the end of January. I'm finally reviewing it, uh, not because it's not valuable or not awesome or anything like that. I just got distracted by some other knives, and for a little while there, I forgot that I still needed to do this review. And this knife is certainly worth being reviewed. It's a Bestech knife. It's in their G10 series, but it's a little bit pricier than some of their G10 knives. We've got just under 3 inches, 2.95 inches, 7.5 centimeters of blade. So if you live in an area where you're limited with your blade size for what you can carry in public anyways, this knife will fit most of those. It's a liner lock knife, and I think you might be interested in it. So come on down for the ride of the review of the Bestech Pebble, coming at you right now. Okay, so here we go. We're looking at this one. I've got, obviously, the one that's black and the tan or desert sand type color. And I decided, yeah, I'm going to put a paper bag. Hopefully we don't get too much crinkling noises. Just as the background, just instead of the blue stuff always. See if this looks better. We've got a nice small knife. Not very small, but it's probably better said as a mid-sized knife. Deep pocket clip, and the pocket clip, leaves a little bit of the knife sticking out, but it's one of those fold-over pocket clips. But it's high enough off of the screws that it's very easy to get all the way to the full depth. Some of these, where this space here from the G10 to the top of the clip is too small, and so it's hard to get the pants all the way into there. I'll show you what I mean. With some knives, you go to put it on like this, and it'll stop right there because of that first screw. Not this knife. It just easily goes right down to the bottom because there's a lot of room in there this way. So you got barely anything sticking out. You got that little bit of brown and tiny bit of black or that tan color sticking out of your pocket. Not much at all. So works very, very well that way. And, easy to go on, not so hard to get off. It doesn't have a lot of retention where it's just holding on tight. So it's quite easy to get in and out of your pocket. That's one of the big pluses. So we've got G10 all the way around. We've got a hidden blade. So the blade is hidden inside the handle, which I rather like. There's not a lot of knives being made these days that are made that way, so that when it's sideways like this, it's totally hidden. Got a little bit of a flipper tab with a little ramp here. So it looks like it's designed, to deploy with the light switch method. And yes, that works. I need to make a little bit of an adjustment to my camera. We've got a beautiful looking knife here. We've got awesome stonewash on the blade. It says VG10 right there. So yes, we got VG10 steel, which some guys love, some guys hate, and a lot of guys just think, it's a good steel. It's in the mid-class of steels, in my opinion, just above the budget steel range and into, sort of the mid-range. It's certainly not a premium steel. It's pretty good. Now, I have sharpened it, and that's why you've got that nice mirror edge. It isn't all that easy to get a nice mirror edge on VG10, but it's not super hard either. And, I got it done without too much effort. Nice sharpener's choil there. We've got a quick plunge right there, so it's easy to get, the sharpening. You don't need a huge... It's easy to sharpen the knife without getting it all scratched up, or without scratching up the blade right here at the plunge or up on the ricasso. And, it just looks kind of nice. We've got a spear point or drop point shape here. This curve here and the radius on the belly are slightly different, so it's technically not perfectly a spear point. So either name, spear point or drop point, is totally fine for this knife. No problem either way. We've got Torx screws, T8, and I think that's a T6 or a T7 on the back. I forget exactly, or off the top of my head. I didn't put that in my notes. A little bit of jimping back here on the blade. And that's one of the things that I'm going to list in the cons because it's not aggressive enough to make a difference. And so it's sort of just cosmetic there. It really doesn't do anything because as you can see, it sits, flush or a tiny bit below the G10. So it really doesn't give you any grip, any resistance there at all. It's just there. Going on with the handle still, we've got an open pillar construction. And if you look inside along this edge here, but on the inside edge, you can see 4 holes right there. And one little hole right in there. Why don't I just show you the insides of the knife right now so you can see the skeletonizing. Watch this. Okay, here's the knife taken apart. You can see the nested liners inside there. A little bit of skeletonization, not very much. I wish there was more. You can see on the blade this little post here. That's the stop pin. It's called a captured stop pin when it does that. So here's the captured stop pin, and as you can see, it lines up with the top of the liner there and the bottom of the liner there. And then they took away the steel of the liner because you need that open space for the stop pin to slide. So you put this on here, and it slides and it stops right there. And when it slides back, it stops right there so that it closes just before it touches the pin right there for the open pillar construction. And that's how a captured stop pin works. And as you can see right here, we've got ceramic detent ball and ceramic ball bearings. Makes this thing have some very smooth action. One of the issues with this knife is that it's got a free spinning pivot, even though it's got this sort of number 8 or that letter B kind of pivot pin, and just torques on one side. And the problem here is it's free spinning, and they use some Loctite, which make it quite challenging to take apart. Unless you've got the right tools, then it's easy. Now, I have heard that Bestech is making captured stop pins on all of them so that they don't go free spinning anymore, so they're not free spinning anymore. But if you've got one of these that is, what do you do about it? Well, you get yourself a vise, something like this one, and you get that to hold your knife. And once that's holding your knife, you've got 2 free hands to work. You get yourself your Torx bit, and you get a bit like this one for the Bestech. And on this side that has the B shape, you put it in there and you can turn the whole thing with it. It's a little loose, but you can make it hold still. So hold that on there. So you're holding that, and the other side's got the Torx, and you push together. So you're pushing in with both screwdrivers at the same time. And if you've got drive grip, use that product because it'll save you a lot of strip screws. And then you loosen up the screw, and you can make the screw come out. Okay, so you saw that, and I really do like that it's got the ceramic ball bearings in there and the ceramic detent. That's a really good thing. It's got the nested liners, as you can see, so the liners don't show up on the edge. You don't see the steel on the liner. And the only thing that pokes out is the liner release. That liner release, it's polished nicely. It's got a little bit of a scoop on it. It's very easy to get your thumb in there to push it over. It opens with, a good level of sound. It goes clunk when you open it. Well, not really a clunk. It's a little more high-pitched than that. But it opens up rock solid. The lock up here on the blade, it's solid. No blade plays side to side, up and down. Very, very good. Lock up right here. I can give you a close-up picture of that. It's a perfect lockup. It locks up just like a brand new knife should do. Totally, totally functional and beautiful at the same time. I'll give you a close-up picture of this. With the naked eye, this looks perfect. They did a perfect seam all the way around. It's flawless. It looks very, very nice. And then you've got the chamfered edges here on the G10, chamfered edges on the belly. So it's very, very comfortable in hand. So right-handed, left-handed, very, very comfortable. easy to use in the left hand, as long as I keep my thumbs out of the way. I'm looking at an LCD, not at my hands or anything, so that makes it a little bit tricky sometimes. And of course, in the right hand, it is also just as well. And, I'm doing the push down method. Of course, I could do the light switch method as well. Both work just fine to deploy the blade. And looking at that chamfering again, it also carries on right down the back of the knife. And you've got sort of a mirror copy, this end here, with this nice radius here, it's sort of mirrored on that side there. So it's a really nice looking candy bar style knife shape, which I like an awful lot. This pocket clip doesn't come out too far to create any hot spots at all. And now it's time to do the measurements. So here we go. We've got a cutting edge of 7.3 centimeters. That's 2.87 inches. Blade length, so tip to the G10, 7.5 centimeters, 2.95 inches. The blade thickness is 3.2 millimeters. That's 0.126 inches. We've got a blade depth of 2.5 centimeters, just under an inch. The thickness of the steel just behind the grind right there is 0.56 millimeters. That's 0.022 inches. Perfect. Very good for this knife. The grind angles, 22.3 degrees on this side that has the Pebble name on it, and 23.6 degrees on this side. I decided to sharpen it to 20 degrees per side, a little bit sharper radius. So if this is what it was, I sharpened it to this. Just a slightly more narrow angle behind the grind there. But the grind angle that they did was nice and consistent all the way up and down. They did a really good job sharpening this knife, just like Bestech always does. The handle length is 10.9 centimeters, 4.3 inches. The grip area between my thumbs here is 9 centimeters, that's 3.5 inches. The handle thickness, not counting the pocket clip, is 1.24 centimeters, that's 0.49 of an inch, so basically half an inch thick. The handle depth and the knife depth when the blade is closed are the same thing because it tucks all the way in, right? 2.64 centimeters, 1.04 inches, so 1 inch plus a little bit of the flipper tab sticking out. And the total length of this knife when the blade is deployed is 18.3 centimeters, 7.2 inches. So yeah, it's on the medium to small size for knives, and it fits very well. The weight of this knife, it's not written on my notes. I think it's around 3.6 ounces. I'll put the weight on the screen right here. How much are you going to pay for this knife? Well, this knife is a little bit more expensive than a lot of the G10 knives. This thing, you can find it in a lot of places for around $88, $89, and you'll find it all day long. The best place I found to buy it was White Mountain Knives, and you can get it at $88 minus 10% because of my coupon code CCE. That's $79 and 20 some odd cents. Can't read my handwriting. So that's US dollars, so that's not bad at all. And yes, if you're going to shop at White Mountain Knives, use my coupon code for anything in the store and you'll get 10% off. That's very good. And the owner will be able to track how many people are buying because they watch my channel. So there you go. The fit and finish, I love this knife. The fit and finish is very good. Slightly radiused edges on the blade. The stonewash is even all the way across. Beautiful grind on the cutting edge. And, it polishes up really nicely. The merger of the two colors of G10 works very well. You can just barely feel the difference sometimes when you rub your finger across, but basically it's super smooth. Really nice pivot. The action's great, but the pivot is a free spinning pivot. I'm told that Bestech is now going to locked pivot pins all the time, so you won't have to do the thing of clamping it onto a vise and then taking the knife apart. But you saw my little bit of a video on how to do that. So if you get a free spinning pivot one, it's not that hard to deal with if it has this B symbol here on the pivot. just get one of those spanner screwdrivers. They're not that hard to find. The other pros on it, it cuts great because, you know, full flat grind is a great thing. Nice belly here. It deploys very well. The detent is awesome. So perfect detent on this. I love the hidden liners. It helps the look. I really like that the blade gets totally hidden in here. This is a kind of knife that won't scare the sheeple very much. By sheeple, I mean people that are scared of knives in the public. But if that might scare somebody, you can always, you know, deploy the blade by just getting it started, stop it with his hand, and then open it up. And, you know, it doesn't make a lot of noise, especially if you get your thumb over onto the liner lock and just provide a tiny bit of resistance. Then it's a nice quiet knife. And when this is in your hand, this won't scare people very much. It's a perfect size for cutting up your apple in your lunch, if that's what you like to do. And that's another way to do it. You just deploy it lightly and then finish it with your thumb. Great, great knife for all of those things. And what are the cons on here? Well, I would have skeletonized it a little bit more because the balance point is way back here. It's a little further back than I would have liked it. If they would have skeletonized it more and this would be lighter, that would put the pivot point or the balance point right here where I want it to be. So they should have skeletonized it just a little bit. Even though it is a light enough knife, they didn't need to make it lighter. I think they needed to do that skeletonizing to make it a better balanced knife. And this jimping, like I said before, that's kind of meaningless. It's basically just cosmetic there. If they want that to be effective, then they need to make the jimping a little bit bigger and then maybe come back on the G10 a little bit just to give your thumb a space to drop in there, or put the jimping up here as well so that when you're resting your thumb here, you've got that jimping to give yourself a nice good grip. And they've already fixed this with their newer knives. I don't like the free spinning pivot, but like I just said, they're addressing that. So there you go. VG10, great steel choice in my personal opinion. Rockwell around 59. It's good, looks good, and it's a good knife. So if you're in the market for one of these, I've got no hesitation to recommend this to you. Oh, by the way, I didn't talk about this here. I like that. Those steps, instead of just making it all smooth. Is it better in any way, tactilely or anything? No, it's just cosmetically, this looks better. I do like that little bit of accent. It sort of draws your eye, so it doesn't look totally plain Jane. It just gives a little bit of an effect there. One other thing that I might have recommended is, you know, a right and left pocket clip, but that's a perennial thing for me because I grew up left-handed, and so I like to look out for the lefties. So there you go, the Pebble, beautiful knife. Thanks for watching, liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Thanks to my Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.